All right, so if you follow Nicholas Alexander Benson, you know the guy is constantly creating. It's kind of wild. But how? How does one person put out so much stuff? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at just one day in his life, August 25th, 2025, to see exactly how an idea goes from a dream all the way to a finished project. And it all kicks off with this one simple but really powerful idea. And boom, there it is. This is the key to his whole process. For him, dreams aren't just this weird thing that happens when you sleep. Nope. They are the engine. They are the fuel for pretty much everything he creates. And as you're about to see, his entire day isn't just influenced by a dream, it's literally built because of one. Okay, first up, his morning ritual. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of his day, let's just do a quick rundown of who we're talking about here. Yeah, he's an application developer, that's his day job. But the parts that really matter for his creative work? Dream enthusiast and AI advocate. Honestly, those two labels, they're the threads that tie together everything we're about to explore. So you might think a super creative day starts with, I don't know, chaotic energy, right? But for Nicholas, it's the total opposite. His day starts at 4:30 a.m. And the very first thing he does, he logs his dreams in a journal. From there, it's straight into a strict exercise routine and then walking miles for charity. This whole foundation, this discipline, is what gives him the space to be creative later. It's like order paving the way for chaos, in a good way. All right, so we've got the discipline down. Now let's get to the spark that really lights the fire for the whole day, this wild, action-packed lucid dream. I mean, check out the confidence here. He doesn't just have a dream. He induces lucidity. He literally takes control. That's what he means by that. He's not just a passenger. He's in the driver's seat of his own subconscious. And that line about dive-kicking Ruby Wielder, that tells you this isn't just some random dream. It's another chapter in a story that's been playing out in his head for a while. So let's break down the cast of characters in this dream, right? You've got the bad guy, the Ruby Wielder, which he describes as this flying, parasitic humanoid made of ruby. Pretty cool, huh? And then you've got the hero, or at least his defense mechanism, a green symbiote suit. So it's a classic showdown. And this exact conflict is what's going to fuel a ton of his creative work for the rest of the day. Now, for Nicholas, a dream is never just left as a dream. By 7:16 in the morning, just a few hours after waking up, he's already turning that subconscious fight into a public conversation. And this is where we see the first tangible thing he creates, his podcast, Dreamcast. It's actually the perfect example of his whole workflow. He takes the raw notes from his dream journal, and then with his AI creative partner Gemini Nova, he just starts breaking it all down, trying to figure out what it all means. And here is where it all clicks into place. That dream? It wasn't random at all. In their analysis, they figure out that the parasitic Ruby Wielder is basically a stand-in for all the, what he calls, infectious and illogical anti-AI arguments he gets into. And that green symbiote suit, his protector, well, that's his own knowledge, his own pro-AI stance fighting back. So, what's the big takeaway here? The dream is basically his subconscious working through these real-life arguments. It's his brain giving him a high five, saying, yeah, your knowledge, your research, it's strong enough to protect you from these ideas you see as toxic. But okay, he doesn't just stop at analyzing the dream. All that creative juice has to go somewhere bigger. And that's where we get to the largest project of his day, building a whole new fictional universe. So by the afternoon, he's channeling everything from the morning, that dream, the podcast analysis, the discipline, and he's pouring it all into his next big thing, launching the very first issue of his new comic book, The Great Thinning. And this thing is ambitious. We're talking about a reimagined 1969, where right in the middle of everything, the barrier between our world and the realm of the gods just shatters. Suddenly, you've got soldiers mutating into energy vampires, these polymorph crystals falling from the sky, even robots coming to life. It's a huge, sprawling world he's building from scratch. And just look at this. This is a perfect example of his human creativity working hand in hand with AI tools. These are two different forms for the main character, Lil. On the left is her electric form, looks kind of like iridescent fish scales, and it absorbs and redirects magic. Then on the right, you've got her memgem form, which is this crystalline emerald look that can literally fire shards of code and spells. I mean, how cool is that? It just makes this whole new world feel so real. So the day kicked off with a dream, and it's led to a whole new universe. Let's wrap things up by looking at the total haul from just this one single day. Let's talk about this number for a second, 129. By itself, it's just a number, right? But what it represents is the absolute foundation of his entire creative life, pure, relentless consistency. What that means is he has published something on his Substack for 129 weeks in a row. That kind of consistency is just incredible, and it puts him in the top 1% of all writers on the entire platform. It all comes back to that super disciplined morning routine we talked about at the beginning, doesn't it? So if we look at his own highlights for the day, it's the perfect recap. He had that wild lucid dream. He got his charity miles in. He kept his 129-week publishing streak alive. He launched a brand new comic with a bunch of character designs. And, this is super important, he still made time to have a fun shake date with Ashley. It shows that even with all this intense focus, there's still a balance with his personal life. And really, that's what it all comes down to. We just watched one single dream become the spark for a podcast, a song, and a whole comic book, all in one day. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If that's what he can do with his dreams, what could you create with yours?